What if the most successful Biohack Biz builders aren't working harder than everyone else? They're not better at selling, and they don't have more hours in the day. What separates them is a system built by Don Failla, a former IHOP manager who figured out how to build extra income without adding another job to his schedule. In the next few minutes, I'm going to walk you through the 4 specific things they do differently. And the first one removes the fear of selling entirely, so you never have to become a salesperson. Thing 1. They lead with tools, not with talk. So here's the real problem nobody talks about. The person who joins a network marketing company and tries to wing it thinks they need to become a great talker to make it work. They memorize scripts, practice pitches in the mirror, and stress themselves out trying to explain the whole business to every single person they meet. And when someone says no, they take it personally because they made the whole conversation about themselves. The successful Biohack Biz builder does the exact opposite because they never try to explain the business themselves. Instead, they use the ITT framework, which stands for Invite, Tool, and Team. You invite someone to watch a quick overview, you hand them a tool like a video or a website, and you let the tool do the explaining while your team sponsor handles the questions. So you're never the expert in the room. Don Failla figured this out back in 1981 while he ran an IHOP, and he quickly realized that the less he talked to people about the business, the more they actually listened. It sounds backwards, but it's true. When you try to explain everything yourself, you become the bottleneck and people start asking you questions you can't answer. You end up sounding like you're trying to sell them something, which is exactly what creates the fear in the first place. But when you use a tool, everything changes. The tool never gets nervous, it never forgets what to say, and most importantly, it lets someone see the business through their own eyes instead of through your explanation. That removes the fear of selling and the fear of public speaking in one move. Picture yourself at a soccer game watching your kid play, and someone asks what you do for a living. The person who tries to wing it pulls out a brochure and starts explaining compensation plans right there on the bleachers, which makes everyone uncomfortable and kills the conversation before it even starts. The successful builder simply says they've got a quick video that explains it way better than they can, and they send the link. The first approach feels forced and awkward. The second, one feels natural, and it's something you would actually do. One of the biggest lessons from studying network marketing mistakes is that 2 patterns cause most of the burnout. The first is trying to sell rather than educate. The second is making promotions so complex that nobody on your team can copy them. The ITT framework fixes both problems at once by keeping things simple and letting the system do the heavy lifting, which is why it works so well for busy parents and teachers. But tools alone aren't the secret. The real difference shows up the moment someone agrees to hear more. Thing 2. They work the system, not the sale. Now, let's talk about what happens after someone says yes, they'd like to take a look. Because this is where the person who tries to wing it usually falls apart and breaks the business. They improvise and come up with their own presentation because they think their personality will close the deal. And every single time they do that, they break the one thing that makes this business work, which is duplication. The successful Biohack Biz builder never improvises. They follow the 45-second presentation exactly the way Don Failla designed it. The structure is simple, with 3 minutes for the company, 7 minutes for the products, and 10 minutes for the marketing plan, which adds up to 20 minutes total every single time. They also use napkin presentations, which are basically modern-day flashcards. These are simple sketches on a napkin that explain the concept in a way anyone can understand and copy without needing any special skills or expensive training. Nobody needs to be an artist or charismatic. You just need to follow the system, because it was designed to be copied. When you reinvent the wheel every time you present, nobody on your team can copy what you did, which means your growth hits a hard ceiling that stops everything. Your team watches and thinks they could never do that because they can't copy your personality. But when you follow the exact same system every time, they see something completely different. They realize they can do that too, because it's not about you anymore. It's about the system. The FTC reviewed income disclosures from 70 different network marketing companies and found that the vast majority of participants earned very little, in part because they treated the business casually instead of following a proven process. The successful builders understand this. The system is the real product, not the vitamins and not the shakes. Think about the boiling pan with 5 burners. That's the visual Don Failla used to explain up motivation. When you work the system consistently, you keep all 5 burners going. When you improvise, you light 1 burner at a time and wonder why nothing ever reaches a boil, even though you're working just as hard as everyone else. And this is exactly why working the system is only half the battle. The real magic happens when your team starts copying you. Thing 3. They prioritize duplication over effort. Okay, so if the system is the real product, then the question becomes, how do you grow beyond just yourself? The answer is duplication. And this is where the math gets really interesting. The person who tries to wing it focuses on personal volume. They try to sign up everyone themselves. They run around like a one-person show, and eventually they burn out because there's only one of them, and only so many hours in a day. The successful Biohack Biz builder thinks completely differently. They know that one person teaching 2, who teach 2, who teach 2, creates exponential growth that no amount of personal effort can ever match, no matter how hard you work. You're either adding hours to your day, or you're multiplying yourself through a team that copies the system. And once you see this math, you can never unsee it. Don Failla built his entire model around this idea. He understood that duplication beats talent every single time. A person with average skills who can be duplicated will always outperform a superstar who can't be copied, because duplication scales over time and raw talent never does. That's because the superstar becomes the ceiling. Everyone on their team depends on them, so when they stop, the income stops. But a duplicatable system keeps paying you even when you're not actively working. That's the difference between a job and a business. In a job, the income stops when you stop showing up. In a business built on duplication, the system keeps running because your team is following the same simple steps you taught them, which means you get paid either way. The biohacking market is growing at double-digit rates every single year, which means the opportunity right now is absolutely massive for anyone who can build a team the right way. But opportunity only turns into income when your team can duplicate what you do. Without duplication, you're just trading one job for another. Here's a simple test you can use to tell if you have real duplication or just another job. If you fell sick tomorrow and couldn't work for a whole month, your income would keep coming in only if you have true duplication already built into your business model. And that's exactly what the successful builder fixes first. Thing 4, they protect their time, money, and health. Now here's what nobody talks about. All the duplication in the world won't help if you burn out before you get there. And that's exactly what happens to the person who tries to wing it. They sacrifice their health for a paycheck, or they neglect their family to build a business. And eventually they quit because the cost grew too high to keep going. The successful Biohack Biz builder filters every single decision through the Own Your Life framework, which means they always look at time, money, and health before saying yes to anything. If an opportunity costs too much of any one of those, they simply don't do it. Think about it like a thermometer for your attitude. When you're running too hot on one burner and ignoring the others, something breaks eventually. And it always costs way more than you ever expected. Maybe it's your marriage, or your health, or your bank account. The Own Your Life framework says you can't own your life if you're sacrificing one to get the others. This is why the successful builder doesn't chase every shiny object. They don't join 5 companies at once. They don't work 80-hour weeks to prove they're serious. And they treat this like a business, not a sprint. That means they protect their time, their money, and their health like they're non-negotiable. Biohacking itself is all about self-directed health optimization, which means making small but powerful changes to your daily lifestyle to improve your energy, your sleep, and your overall physical performance. The successful Biohack Biz builder applies that same DIY mindset to their business. They optimize their schedule and track their results to make sure their business is serving their life instead of slowly consuming it. And this brings us to the part that ties everything together. The standard call to action for every Biohack Biz builder follows 4 steps. You get in and get started, you use the products, you shift into high gear, and you share with friends. Notice how none of those steps say sacrifice your family or skip the gym. That's because the system is designed from the ground up to fit into a life you actually want to live instead of replacing it with even more busy work. So now you have the full picture, and here's what it all means. The 4 things aren't separate skills. They're one system that works together, where you lead with tools so you never have to sell, you work the system so anyone can copy you, and you prioritize duplication so your income doesn't depend on your effort. The last piece is protecting your time, money, and health so you can actually own your life. The only question left is whether you'll keep doing what the average person does or start building the way the successful ones do. You can choose either path. If you want to see exactly how the 45-second presentation works, click here to watch the next video.